St. Vincent has done some fairly high-concept tours over the last decade. Going out in support of 2017's Moss Seduction album, on her synth-pop glorifying Fear the Future tour, she put pop art video projections on the big screen, obfuscating masks on her band members, and a lot of latex in the dressing room, to magnify her candy-colored dominatrix look. Conversely, on the tour behind 2021's Daddy's Home, she combined artifice with actual warmth, letting retro touches push some of the avant-garde flourishes aside. There, she went blonde and led a team of backup singers through an old-school soul revue laced with touches of psychedelia. Hermo now. The big concept in 2024 is to put on a rock show. Of course, with St. Vincent, nothing could ever be quite that simple. Hers continues to be a show that invites deep thoughts as well as primal responses. But apart from whatever neural pathways you might be tempted to go down while thinking about her lyrics and themes during the course of a concert, what stands out about the Allbornscreaming tour is how minimalist it is. With no video screens, backup singers or sketches, and a lot of electric guitar, it's the purest distillation of St. Vincent we've had on stage in quite a few years. And while we love the acutely conceptual stuff, too, she's such a riveting talent that you're drawn to get as close as possible, with or without bells and whistles. In the interest of that closeness, we caught her at a rare club show she booked on her current tour, which otherwise has her in sizable halls and amphitheaters. Just before playing to a full house at the Greek Theatre in LA over the weekend, St. Vincent performed at a venue about 1/6 the size, the 1,000-capacity Knitting Factory in Boise, Idaho. It was as glorious an experience as you'd expect, if you're a fan, and if you're a fan of eye contact with the stars. St. Vincent does like to engage the fans in front, on this tour, and if you like the thought of having her shout, "Hey, what are you looking at?" right at you, as she does in Broken Man, the first single from Allbornscreaming, know that she might glare at you like she's expecting an answer. Very little about this tour feels similar to the Daddy's Home outing. They might as well be night and day. As sad as many if not most of the songs were, there was a sort of sooniness to that last album and that tour, with all the playful 1970s cosplay and R&B undertones and literally light hair color. It felt like St. Vincent attempting to humanize herself a little, even if, ironically, it was by playing dress-up. Now, Annie Clark, her nom de plume, is still just as humanized on stage, even as her current, haunted brand of rock and roll leads her down some dimmer corridors. Leonard Cohen titled one of his latter-day albums, "You Want It Darker," and that would kind of work, too, for St. Vincent's new album, although you can't say that Allbornscreaming doesn't also get the point across. Clark made a point of mentioning that she and her band had visited an escape room in Boise on their day off. She seemed especially delighted that her bass player, Charlotte Kemp Mull, had seemed to terrify some fair-haired locals on the street outside with her look, which could reasonably be described as a little bit goth. But escapism, per se, isn't necessarily St. Vincent's thing, at least not on Allbornscreaming, which takes death, mortality and grieving as primary themes. Clark showed some chutzpah, in that regard, by starting her current setlist off with the slowest and starkest song along those lines from the new album, Reckless, the title of which transmutes into breathless, meaning, maybe, deceased. Anyone who'd wandered into the venue just in search of a good time might have wondered what they'd gotten themselves into, with that dramatic and mournful an opening number, with keyboard player Rachel Eckroth playing electronic piano parts that made the song sound like one of Trent Reznor's least happy melodies. But there's a reason that Reckless makes for such an effective concert opener. Once you've just about settled into its lulling funereality, it explodes with some pounding half-note power chords, signaling that the somber prologue was ending. From that ominous opener, it was into the much more energized oldie, Fear the Future, and the rest of the 80-minute show qualified as a veritable celebration of life. Clark can't help but see herself as a designated mourner, and that goes for some of the older songs, like New York, with its anthemic "I have lost a hero, I have lost a friend" chorus, which never fails to feel touching, as well as new numbers that are themed around loss, like Sweetest Fruit and Hell is Near. But the music was so viscerally exciting, and Clark's demeanor between songs was so friendly, that, well, hell or heaven or whatever awaits seemed very far off. For anyone who gets their kicks from the dynamics of well-played rock and roll that feels like something is at stake, it's hard to imagine a much more high-spirited show.